welcome to Kinda Loopy, a podcast mostly about knitting because I am a knitter with a capital K, a little bit about crochet because I am a crocheter with a lowercase c, and a little bit of life's loopiness thrown in the mix just for fun. My name is Sarah, and I'm coming to you from Southeast Tennessee. It is a mid-November morning. It's warmed up a little bit for this time of year, but just pleasant outside. It's good fall weather right now. So I'm sitting out on my screen porch as I have been on all the episodes, the two that I've recorded before. So welcome to episode 3. I can be found on Instagram as Kinda Loopy, but on Instagram I have 3 O's in Loopy. You can also follow me on my personal account that I've used for a long time, and I would call my primary account, and that one is SarahJean77. I think I even mentioned on my first episode that I was a little bit on the fence about whether I wanted to have 2 Instagrams. I wasn't sure how I felt about compartmentalizing and separating them, and I think I've decided I actually like it. I heard some feedback from people on kind of both sides of the fence on that one, and I kind of considered all of that, and then I just realized I post more knitting content on the Kinda Loopy account than I did on my personal account, mostly because I was trying to avoid annoying the muggles who don't knit and follow me on my personal account. So I kind of like that. I like having a place where I can unabashedly post lots and lots and lots of knitting content. So I think I'm gonna keep those around for a while. All right, so let's start with what I'm wearing. This is the Flora jumper. My mind went blank for a moment. It's designed by Melody Hoffman, who I don't know if she still designs under the name Bee Mandarines. I know she used to. She might just be Melody Hoffman now. But this is something that she designed several years ago. I think I knit this in December or November of 2019. So just a fingering weight sweater. I guess you can't see it here. It's got little, I don't know, little flower pods. There's a special stitch in there. I don't even remember what it was, but it gives it a little bit of texture. It's a nice lightweight. It's perfect for fall, right? The color even. The color is The Time of My Life. Goodness, my mind's going blank. Which was an Adelaide Cottage yarn, and she doesn't dye any longer. And it's a stellina base, so it's got some sparkle in it. All right, how about the things I finished these last couple of weeks? So I have a pair of socks here. These are just some shorty socks. These are the socks that I intended to share with you. Let's put one of them down. Last time I recorded, but as soon as I sat down, I realized I didn't have those socks with me. They were hanging by my back door because that's where I have up socks so that they're always on the go. But I finished them. I've cast them on and finished them since I shared anything with you all. The yarn is Leap of Faith Yarns, and it's in a Gilmore Girls inspired colorway called Harvest Festival. It was from the Knit People Knit Cal a couple of years ago. I think it was 2023's Cal that Leah Loves to Knit does. She still does them. She's doing one right now, I believe. I think it goes through November. Don't quote me on that. But every year there's some sponsor yarn, and this was the one from 2023, Leap of Faith Yarns. The contrast heel and toes are in Gnomish Fiberworks, which is, I think she's kind of local to me, yarn dyer, although you can get her in a lot of different stores. She makes the most beautiful, rich tonal colors. I absolutely love what she does with those like jewel toned colors. I believe this was the Fillory colorway, which is probably a reference to something that I don't know. So I used up scraps on that one because I made the full length socks during the Cal a couple years ago and then gifted those to my sister-in-law, I believe. All right, so I've got two other finished objects, but they're also in my current whips pile, sort of. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking about Moonglow's Fall Festival. So I've got Harvest Festival and Fall Festival, and it gets confusing. But I got Moonglow Yarns Fall Festival collection a little bit ago, and Whitney of Moonglow Yarns was making a bounce blanket from Tin Can Knits. And I was thinking I wanted to do that, right? And then I even shared that since I didn't have enough of the Moonglow yarn, because I just got a DK mini set, I was thinking of tearing out a blanket, right? I shared that with everybody. And I thought I'd use some of those yarns to make a bounce blanket like Whitney was doing. But we've had a change of plans with that blanket. So I had to pivot with the hat, or with the minis set. And I don't know, I don't remember where it came from. Something just hit me that, because I like to buy DK mini sets and then I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And I just thought, oh, I should make those Party of Five hats. So Party of Five hat pattern is a free pattern from Jill Zielinkski. Zielinkski, who I know when I got the pattern, she was known as Knitterella. I believe she's still known as Knitterella, but she has started a yarn company called North Bay Fibers. I'll have all this stuff linked in the description below. So when I'm saying it wrong, don't listen to the words I say, just look in the description. But she had created a Party of Five sweater pattern a few years ago, and I did knit that. And then she put out the free hat pattern to kind of use up the scraps that were left from that Party of Five sweater. So I've made lots of Party of Five hats in my time. And these are actually Party of Six hats because there are six of the contrast minis that are in there. I finished two of them, as you can see, but I've decided I am just going to knit these until I run out of yarn. I thought when I started I would be able to get at least two hats, maybe three out of each of the DK mini sets. Now I'm thinking I can get four, because I'll show you the progress I've made with the next one and how much yarn I have left. And so I'm going to finish with these this Moonglow yarn, and then kind of start doing the same thing with some other DK mini sets that have just been sitting around not knowing what they want to be. The main color of these hats is Knitty McPurly's Dubrovnik DK in the Jovis colorway. I had made a Tolsta tank earlier this summer and had a skein left over, plus about 3/4 of another skein. So I've been using that yarn up as well, and I'm just going to keep using DK minis and DK scraps in these hats until I have no more. So it might take a while to get through all of them. I have no idea what I'm going to do with these right now because we don't really wear hats anymore in our house. I was just kind of thinking maybe I'd make a bunch of them and bring them to church and let people take them off a free table, or take them to a friend's gathering this holiday season, and just let anybody who wants them take them. I do have a couple of the faux fur palms that I'm thinking I might put on some of these, but these are the only two I have. So if I'm going to do that for, dozens of these hats, I'm going to have to get some more. And I don't know, maybe not everybody wants a palm. Maybe those faux fur palms are not even in style anymore. I wouldn't know. So maybe I'll just have options, but I'm just going to make a stack and kind of put them aside until I figure out what to do with them. But let's move into the works in progress that I have, and we'll talk about the ongoing hats that I have. I have the third one cast on. I have the first two colors completed in that third one. And, oh, I didn't bring them down here. Oh no. Oh well, they're sitting on my desk because I was doing this while I was on breaks at work. So you can see I've got a couple of those DK minis sitting right here, and it's only taking about half of these to make the straight, half of what I have here. I haven't weighed them. I'm just eyeballing it, but I'm pretty sure that even after I finish this one, I will still have enough of these minis to get another hat out of them. They're really don't take very much. And when you're using 6 different colors in the contrast colors, yeah, it takes next to nothing for a hat to be completed. So then I've got some other mini sets sitting in this bag for future hats that I'm going to make out of these. So these have kind of just been sitting around for a while. I've got a DK mini set from Mandy's Makings. That is a collection called A Taste of New Orleans. And I know each one of these did have a name, but they're not on the label and I don't remember what they are. And then I also have a Knitty McPurly DK set. This was her color of the month for July of this year. So it's kind of like patriotic with American flag colors and military uniform colors. So once I'm done with the Moonglow colors, I will begin doing these sets. And I'm going to use the Jovis as the main color as long as I have some. And then I'll just look through my stash and see what I can do after that. These hats are all kind of hanging out, or all the yarns hanging out in a bag that I love to use. This is a little oval bucket bag by Delightful Works. I've met Susan in real life and she is delightful, and I love these bucket bags that she makes. She has a couple of different styles and she has other bags as well. These are just the ones that I like. And this one was from the Knitty McPurly retreat. And I've moved into winter mode, even though it's still kind of fall. So I pulled that out. And I even have a little Notions pouch, not zipped right now, that matches this one. And this is kind of my Notions pouch I use all the time. Even though it's kind of winter themed with the sweaters on it, I just take this and I put it in whatever bag I am carrying around with me to keep my projects with me. I actually have filmed a little bit of my needle storage, and I have some other pouches that I share in that video that we're going to pop in here in just a little bit after I'm done going through all of the knitting, and you'll see a theme with the bags. The bag that I keep all my tools in, and the bags that I'm going to share as I keep talking about what's going on with my knitting. All right, so let's talk about a pair of socks that I cast on. They're black, so it's not all that exciting. These are just a pair of vanilla socks that I'm going to make for my daughter's boyfriend. They are made with Sweet Mountain Crafts. This is the Scree sock base, and the color is Absence, because it is the absence of color. And this is kind of like church knitting or movie theater knitting. We go to the movies quite a bit. We have the AMC A-list where you just pay like $25 a month and you can go to 4 movies a week. And we just like to go to the movies. I like to have an excuse to just sit and knit in the dark, whether I like the movie or not. That doesn't matter because when they're essentially free, we go quite a bit. So I had started knitting these in a movie the other day, and then I was knitting on them in church last week and just knitting away. And then I don't know what made me realize, but I thought, oh my goodness, I have been knitting these in my size and they're supposed to be for my daughter's boyfriend. So I had quite a bit of progress and I ended up pulling it mostly out so that I could go add some increases. Oh, and here's a little pierogi stitch marker from my friend Amy when we did the stitch marker exchange at the last Knitty McPurly retreat. She's the knitting wanderer on Instagram if you follow her. So not really exciting, but something I'm working on at church and in the movies. And I keep these in this bag that I have. This is a waxed canvas bag from Twig and Horn. And I forgot to look up and see. I think they still do this, but they might actually do it under somebody else's company or do them exclusively. I'm going to have to look into that and I'll put it in the description. But I bought a few bags from Twig and Horn in the past. I just love them. This is a little round bucket bag. It's got the crossbody strap, and this is my on-the-go knitting bag. They're always, 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 always socks in here, and they hang by the door. And this is the bag I just grab when we're running out wherever we're going. These come with me, so that's where those socks for my daughter's boyfriend are living right now. What else do I have here? This is another Delightful Works bag. It's a bucket bag. I just love these because they're open on the top, and I just kind of shove stuff in there and take them wherever I need to go around the house. But just last night, this is hardly even started, I cast on a Musselburgh hat. I've made many Musselburghs in my life for our family and for people to give away. And there's kind of a story of why this jumped on the needles last night, and I only have this much going so far. The yarn is from Two Roots Alpacas, which is a little fiber mill and alpaca farm, and they do sell yarn, and they sell knitted items like machine knit things that they make from their fiber that they sell. It's about a 2-hour, maybe 3-hour drive from me to get to this farm. And I went there on the Great Tennessee Yarn Tour a couple of years ago. Well, I've gone there a couple of times for that tour, but I got this yarn a couple of years ago. So it is a 50-50 alpaca and merino. The alpaca is brown. The merino is dyed, although it doesn't say a color or anything like that. But it's very natural, and it's got the best of both alpaca and wool because it's a 50-50 blend. And what I am doing with this, why I'm making a hat, and I'm going to end up making mittens, I believe, as well. As I have another skein of it, and I think I can get both a hat and mittens out of it. It's a DK weight. But I'm making these for a homeless man who has been helping out at a place where my husband is starting to work, and he has been this homeless man. He's just kind of been asking if there's things he can do to help out. So he's been kind of cleaning up outside and doing some physical labor to try and get back on his feet. And we're heading into winter, and even though I don't need hats and mittens living here, when you're out in the elements, it does get fairly cold. So I've decided I'm going to make him some stuff for this winter. And I did kind of waffle. I hesitated. Do I want to make something that isn't superwash, that he can't wash anywhere? But he doesn't have access to washing machines and that kind of thing. He even sometimes will ask, instead of getting paid, if he can get just a hotel room for the night so he can shower and kind of freshen up. So I kind of get the feeling, for a while anyway, he's probably going to just be washing things in the sinks of hotels. Or we have a small homeless population who live along a creek in our town, and I think sometimes the things get washed in the creek as well. So I decided I didn't fear him throwing things in the washing machine or the dryer. And if you have the non-super wash stuff, right, it doesn't need to be washed frequently, and it'll still keep you warm even if it gets wet. So I've decided that's what I'm going to do. And I guess if it doesn't work out for him, that's all right. I'm still gonna, I guess, take the risk on that. All right. Another thing that I have started since the last time I recorded, it seems like I've been really busy. I don't know what's going on, and that means probably the next time I'm going to record, there's going to be nothing to show. But this is a cardigan, or it will be when it grows up. You can kind of see that we've got sleeves taking shape over here on the sides, and it's going to have this ribbed, I don't know if it's an actual shawl collar. It's just a ribbed kind of button band, and it's done in garter. Real cozy. I love to wear cardigans all winter long since I don't really wear coats anymore. So this is going to be a longer cardigan also. It is the Big Sister cardigan by Kate Oates. And so it's a DK weight yarn, so it might not take that long, but this might be something, I'm just working on here and there. I don't not like knitting on this, but the other things I've been working on have been more exciting. So this one's kind of taken a back seat after the first few days where I was heavily working on it, but it'll get done when it gets done. This yarn is yarn I found in a local, I don't know if I would call it even a shop. Well, it's a shop, but it's not a singular business. It's a place called Grit and Grace, and it is in an old woolen mill in our town, which makes it all the more fun. But this woolen mill was like abandoned, and it's falling apart. It's huge, and so some local entrepreneurs are kind of going in there and cleaning some of it up and putting shops in there, and it's kind of rustic and charming. And one of this Grit and Grace that takes up a big part of what they've restored in there is one of those shops where there's lots of booths. There's like hundreds of vendor booths in there, and they're all like decorated and curated, and it's very pretty. But every one of those vendors, determines what they're going to sell, from antiques to crafts to food items, and then it's all just managed by the Grit and Grace people. So one of my favorite booths in that store is Cabinology, and they have a lot of rustic furniture and decorations and things. And it's probably been over a year ago. I went in there one time, and they had skeins of yarn. And the tags, all they tell you is that it's Hidden Meadow Farm. It's 100% Corriedale. It's DK. It's not dyed. And that's all I really know. I've even Googled this place. I can't find anything about Hidden Meadow Farm. I thought at one point I had found out that they were from Pennsylvania, but now I can't even remember where I found that, and I can't find it again. But there were skeins just kind of tucked around in the different furniture, like decorations. And so the first time I went, I bought 3 of them. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I didn't care. It was kind of neat to find yarn at a not yarn store. And then I went back probably some months later, and there were still some skeins laying around. And so I grabbed a couple more. And in the end, after 3 different trips, I ended up with the 7 DK skeins that remained. There was some sport weight still left, but I got all of the DK, not knowing what I was going to do with it. But I have decided I need this cozy kind of outer garment cardigan that will kind of take the place of a blanket or of a coat for me, or a blanket, either way. And I keep that in this waxed canvas bag from Woolen Works Designs. They are a couple of ladies, Barb and Erin, that I've met in real life, and I just think they're delightful as well. And I love their products at Woolen Works Designs, and so I have a few bags. One of my main needle storage bag that you'll see in that video coming up soon is also one of their designs, and this is my favorite bag. My main project, whatever that might be at any given time, is always in here. And so when something's finished, a new project will go in here. I use this one on continual rotation. You can even see it's kind of looking not worn, because it's pretty sturdy and solid, but there's lots of fuzz stuck to it, and maybe some spills and some stains, but I love it. So it's my absolute favorite. Okay, so last time I talked about my blanket, my mystery blanket from Jimmy Bean's wool that needed to be seamed a lot, and I didn't care for that, right? So I talked about it. I was pretty sure I was going to end up pulling it out when I was talking about it, but in the talking about it, so just me talking and then watching it play back after I had recorded that episode, and then the comments, the plethora of comments, kind of encouraging me to keep going, and I'm realizing how I had done most of it already. And then I realized, I sat down with the instructions and looked through what remained, and I realized that most of the seaming had already been done. So the stuff I didn't like was mostly behind me. There was really not a good reason to not finish it. So I decided to pick it back up and start working on it. and I've been working diligently away. I am now at a place where some seaming has to happen. So I'm gonna pop in a video I kind of recorded of it laying out and talking through where I'm at in that process right now. All right, so I've got an update on this blanket. The first time I talked to you all about it, I had these 6 center squares pieced together. I had this strip and this strip. I had this off-white strip, and I had knit this gray strip but hadn't attached it. So I have now attached that one. I knit this other strip on the other side and I've attached that one. We're not going to look too closely at the seaming, doesn't matter. Done is better than perfect, right? To quote some friends of mine. I have since added on these 2 different sections on the ends. On both sides I've done that. So now these small squares are going to be attached on either side, and then once that happens I get to put the last 4 squares. That'll be the end of the seaming. So most of it's behind me at this point. I've survived, and I'm excited to get the rest of these pieces put together, and then I can just work on adding the final 2 colors. So the blanket's almost done. I'm so excited, and I am so appreciative that I brought it out and talked about it, and everybody encouraged me to finish it, because this is making me happy, and I'm so glad that it's almost done. Okay, so I've kind of been knitting on this a bunch in the last few days to get to the point where I am now. But like I said, I'm at the point where I have to start seaming again. So that requires thought, and that's going to be like a Saturday thing that I'm sitting out on my screen porch and kind of like, all right, let's get this done. So what I've decided to do at this point is put it in the rotation with my other blankets. So I mentioned on my first episode, I have 3 different scrappy blankets that I spend some time on every Sunday. They rotate. I assign them to myself. And so every 3 weeks, every one of those blankets was getting worked on. And now I've adjusted that. So it's every 4 weeks. So this will get put into that rotation. And with December coming up, and I'm going to be knitting a blanket for Advent, and there's this Advent knitting. I think my blankets are probably going to get a break during the month of December. So I probably won't pick this back up until January. But I feel good about this. I'm excited about this, and I'm just gonna continue working in these manageable pieces until it is finished. So thank you everybody for for helping me make the right decision, which I do feel good about. So that's how you know it's the right decision, right? Okay, now we're going to talk about the elephant in the room for me. It's just for me, it's not for anybody else. But last episode, I had shown you the bottom ribbing of a top. So here's the bottom ribbing that I had just started. It's a chevron top by Beth McDonald Stone. And I said, I hope I have a finished object to show you the next time I record. And I do, I guess, have a finished object to show you. But I have some issues. There's some issues with this one. So I originally knit it. I swatched for this. I've been swatching all year. And if you knew me before, that would be shocking, because I'd never swatched until I really embraced Devin of Knitting McPurly's gauge switcheroo worksheet that she has for free on her website. That thing changed my life. I've even built a spreadsheet off of the calculations, because she just helped make me understand how to calculate gauge and how you use gauge to figure out what you're going to do with the pattern. Like it all makes perfect sense now. I just didn't get it before. So now I actually enjoy swatching, because that's kind of fun to figure out the math on it. Who am I? So I swatched for this, and I was pretty confident that I was going to like the end result. And I knit this in about 3 days. It went so fast. It was so addictive to do this little lace repeat that goes throughout the vest. It's really more of a tank top to me, but it's thick. This is Aran weight. This is Blue Sky Woolstock Tweed in the Cactus Flower colorway. It's thick yarn. It was big needles. I used like size 9 and 10 US needles. I don't even know what those millimeters are. Maybe 6 and I'm not gonna guess. But I knit through it so fast. I had swatched, so I was so excited. I was sure I was going to be able to wear this in the fall, like with a tank top under it and maybe just like a denim jacket over it as a kind of transition thing. And then I got to the end and I blocked it and I tried it on, and it was a little too tight, or it was stretched a little too much in like the bust and the sleeve area, even though there aren't sleeves, but the straps. And in my mind, I thought, well, you can get stretch one way, you can get stretch horizontally, or you can get stretch vertically. So if I add more length, I can stretch it more horizontally. That was my thought process. After this whole debacle, I'm just shaking my head at some of the things that made perfect sense at the time, and I should know better than so many of the decisions I made. So I thought, well, I'll just cut the bottom off, the ribbing off, stick needles through in two places, essentially do an afterthought heel, the way you put the needles in and then cut that out. And then I'll knit some more length and graft them back together. So I cut off two pieces, or cut two pieces apart. And I actually documented this. I filmed the whole time. But so I'm going to pop that in here in just a moment. But I counted. I was so diligent. I was absolutely positive that I had my needle in the right place. And so I just cut and started pulling and immediately realized, oh my gosh, I did not catch the right stitches. So we'll go ahead and pop that video in of the process of me working through that and catching every single stitch in the sweater on a little plastic locking stitch marker so that I didn't lose them in that cutting process. All right, I am about to begin kitchenering these two pieces together. I had that top piece that I had to cut off of the bottom piece so I could add two more repeats to the length. I think two is plenty. I probably only needed one, but I didn't want to have to do this again. This is what I have left of the fourth skein of yarn. I have a fifth skein wound up, but I don't think I'm going to have to get into it. But this is about just enough, to not make me nervous for kitchenering these two pieces together. Okay, so they're put back together, but I was about 3/4 of the way of reattaching these pieces when I realized where I had gone wrong again. So I had, if you're thinking of a lace chart, and I had row 1 and row 2 that I had knit more length on through row 1 with the intention of attaching it to row 2 where I had cut the top portion off. I know that when you graft something together, you're creating a row of knitting between them. So I should have knit up to a row 1 and grafted it to what was a row 3 so that I would have that extra row of knitting from the graft being row 2, but I didn't. And I realized it, like I said, about 3/4 of the way through of grafting them back together. And at that point, I was so done. And I thought, well, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll work. It doesn't work. So you can see this weird line. It kind of puckers, and the pattern, the lace repeat is interrupted. It's not good. I thought, well, maybe that was cute that I tried that. Let's rip it all out. I'll use the yarn for something else. But then right after that happened, I watched Beth McDonald Stone's podcast, and she was wearing one of hers of these. And the whole time I just stared at her like, I love that top and I want one so bad. But I feel like the window has closed for this season for this to even be transitional. And it's kind of a springy color in the pink. So what I have decided is after we talk about this right now, I am going to frog it and I'm going to reknit it in the spring. It only took 3 days. And now I know I need to probably go up a size to give myself more ease and knit it the length that I originally did. And then I'll get that horizontal, you know, fit that I'm looking for instead of trying to force it vertically. So there's that. All right. I did buy one thing this week. I only brought one of these down, but I bought a sweater's quantity worth of some Knitty McPurly Dubrovnik DK in the Valentine colorway. I've been wanting a Christmas sweater. I actually have a couple of Christmas sweaters I want. I want like a classy one like I'd wear to church. And then I also want like a fun and festive, just more whimsical Christmas sweater. And the last, one of the last Knitty McPurly podcast episodes, she was wearing a sweater she had made herself out of Valentine. And when I saw her, I thought, oh, that's what I need. I need a red sweater for Christmas time. So I got a sweater's quantity, and I think I'm going to do the Go Lightly sweater that Devin also designed. That's my plan. And I would have cast this on, like I'm itching. I want to get this on the needles right now. But I've got a few works in progress, and I get kind of twitchy if I have more than 2 things going. And I've got, well, not counting blankets. Blankets don't count. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 projects right now. That's twice as many as I'm comfortable with. So I am refraining from casting this on. I don't think it would have made it in time for Christmas anyway, if I'd started the day it came. So it's just going to be something I work on. Probably I'll start it in December, but it'll end up being more of a Christmas sweater for next year. Okay, that's all the knitting. I don't have really any crochet that I've done this week, because really the only 2 crochet projects I have are blankets, and I didn't work on either of those. I don't know if y'all just heard that, but we've got huge acorns falling off all the trees around here, and sometimes they're very loud and it startles us. And one just fell really loudly. So I'm going to pop in a video right here that I already recorded of my needle storage, starting with where I keep my fixed circulars. They're in this kind of hanging thing that's on the side of some cubes where I keep my yarn, and then I kind of do a little show and tell with my main knitting bag where most of my tools are kept. So I thought I'd share some of how my tools are stored. So this is kind of my main tool bag, made by Woolen Works Designs. Those ladies are lovely and I highly recommend. But in this bag I have my ChowGoo interchangeable needle set. I don't have every size, but I've got multiples of the lot of sizes that I use. These are my go-to for sure. In this bag I have a little Gilmore Girls pouch, and inside that pouch I have a small scale because sometimes I need to weigh my yarn on the go. I have, these are those small, they're like sleeve holders. I can't think of who makes those right now, but I keep those in this little pouch. I've got some Knitty McPurly balm from the retreat. This year I've got a Knitty McPurly. It will block out tape measure. Some Knitty McPurly lip balm. There's a theme here. I've got some barber cord stored in that little tin. There's some barber cord floating around in here loose. There's people doing yard work, so sorry if you can hear that. I've also got this little pouch. I don't know why there's two separate pouches. I just like them both, so I've got stuff in each. Some of my Devon scissors in their little leather pouch. I've got a measuring tape from the Jimmy Bean's Wool Blanket Club. I've got a little tin of stitch markers from Knitty McPurly. I think those came with her Advent, Lent calendar from a couple of years ago. And a darning needle little tube. Pretty sure this little tube came from Knitty McPurly as well. And then I've got a roll of DPNs. These aren't all of them. I have some others stored where my yarn is stored. I don't use them very often, but I just got this thing off Etsy, and those are the DPNs I use the most. I wouldn't say I use many that often. I mean, I do use them to make socks, but those are all 2.25 millimeter. The rest of these sizes probably aren't used that frequently, but you can probably tell that, are they Knitter's Pride? Carbons is my favorite double pointed needle. I did also have somebody kind of ask about my job, because I've mentioned that I travel for work sometimes, and then I kind of mentioned I was a trainer, I think, on the last episode. So I was just going to kind of give a little bit more information about that. I know I like to know what people do and how they spend their time, so I get it. So I'm a contractor for the military, and I work for a program that helps soldiers and their families in the National Guard mostly. Just anything they need help with, this program is in place to help them, talk to the right people, find the right path to something. And so I used to do that job in South Dakota, where we came from, and now I'm a trainer for that job. So I train people who do that job in all 54 states and territories, including the District of Columbia, where we have National Guard. And most of that training I do online with the teams, but about once a year, maybe more often than that, I go to the various states and territories that I'm responsible for. Plus, we put on like professional development conferences and that kind of thing. So that's where the travel in my job comes from, but mostly I work from home. So it's the best of both worlds, especially for an introvert. And I will be in South Carolina next week training. So I'll be in Columbia for sure, and I believe I'll be in Charleston for some of that time. So if we do anything fun while I'm there, I will take you along and record some of that. I've got some other videos that I'll just, short little clips that I'll pop in at the end here, or my daughter will. I've been making sourdough bread. My daughter, who does the podcast with me, who does all the back end work, she's been crocheting a little bit. So I was filming her when we were in Hobby Lobby buying some yarn, and then she was crocheting. I've been watching the leaves change, so I take video every day of all of the leaves. We did have Halloween about a week ago, and our puppy boys were dressed up in their security vests and very confused by everything that was going on with all of the costumes and such. So we'll pop some of that footage in just a little bit, so you can kind of hang out with me outside of the knitting. So thank you all for joining me. If you've watched me before and are coming back for the third episode, or if this is the first time you're checking me out, this has been really exciting. How much interaction. I didn't realize how much fun I was going to have with all the people interacting. The comments section of YouTube is so fun, and I feel bad now that I haven't left more comments for other podcasters, because I love them and I watch them all the time. And so I've been doing a better job of leaving comments, because I realize how fun that is, at least on this end of it. It's a lot of fun. So thank you all for the support and the interaction. And I hope to see you on the next one. Have a good knitting week, everybody, and I'll see you later.
Smells so good. Oh, it's so thirsty. We are ready for trick-or-treaters. Do you see any coming? I might hear some.